Hi, welcome to another video blog from Viridian of ViridianGames.com, and today we're going to talk about Bullfrog's Powermonger. This was a follow-up to Populous that was released in 1990 for the Amiga and 1992 for the PC. It's a war game just like Populous. You are out to conquer the entire world, but as you can see it's very different from Populous. For one thing, the ground is polygonal, and a polygonal engine means that you can rotate the map. And zoom in and out. Although, oddly enough, your little guys don't get any bigger when you zoom in or out, which is kind of weird, but probably an engine limitation. You have your general. He is your main guy in Powermonger. We're going to click on him and get his stats. He has 26 troops, and he is using a bow. Since this is a war game, the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and start our conquest by taking over this town, and the way we're going to take over this town is by using the aggression buttons. That's the 1, 2, and 3 sword buttons that you see there, but they don't have anything to do with actually attacking. They set the aggression of your general. 1 means that he will do things with as little force as necessary, and 3 means that he will, destroy everything. So in order to take over this town, we have set our aggression to 1 and issued an attack order. Which means that, and that shout means that we have just taken over the town. It belongs to us now. And this is the second town, but we technically don't have to take it over. We have technically won this map at this point. The scales that you see on the left-hand side are tipped all the way to the right towards the white and blue shield, which means that I've won the map. And that's the only indication that you get that you've won a map. But I went ahead and took over the other town as well, just to do it. So we finished the first map. Let's retire. And retiring when the scales are tipped in your favor means that you win. Retiring when the scales are tipped away from your favor means that you lose, and that's the only indicator that you get. Alright, we are now on the second map. It's got more towns, and some larger towns, but we're going to start the exact same way we did the first time, by setting our aggression to 1 and attacking the smallest town.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to point out are the bars above your general's head. The blue bar represents the amount of food he has, the red bar represents the number of men in his army, and the green bar represents his personal hit points. When that bar runs out, he dies, and you lose the map. You will notice that he's using a bow. He's firing one black pixel arrows, which I think is cute. But that is the level of the simulation in this world. Oh, there's an angel going up to heaven. Unfortunately, it looks like we had to kill somebody there. We're down to 19 troops. So now we're going to bolster our army by setting our aggression to 3 and getting men from the town. Now this doesn't attack the town. Instead, this takes every person from the town and puts it in our army. And we just did the same thing with all the town's food. We took all of the food and put it in our army. And you can see now that we have much more food and many more troops. So we can gear up to go on to the next town. The 3D engine and the world simulation were programmed by Glenn Corbees. He was Peter Molyneux's right-hand man for a long time, and he has said many times that this is one of the games that he is proudest of. The engine for this game is one of his favorites. And we are attacking the second town, pretty much the same thing we did on the first one. Unfortunately, attacking towns in this manner is the bulk of Powermonger's gameplay. So we're going to go ahead and strip the entire town just like we did before. And now we're going to attack a slightly larger town. Alright, you can see all the little people. We just clicked on one. You can see that we get a whole bunch of information on that one little person, and every single person that you see on this map has an information box like that. Every tree has an information box. Every building has an information box. The village overall has an information box. That is the level of the world simulation that is running here, and you can see that the seasons change, the trees go bare, food gets scarce, the fishermen don't go out on the lake during the winter. And you can even see right there a little bird bringing a little bundle of joy. That's how the towns get repopulated. Oh, and now having defeated that town, I have another general. And now, since the scales are in my favor, I'm going to go ahead and retire, and we will move on to the third map where things will get a little more interesting. Alright, this is the third map. We are going to go ahead and start same way as always, setting our aggression to 1 and attacking a town to subdue it. But this time, instead of stripping the entire town, we're going to set our aggression to 2 and get men and food from the town so that there's something left. Towns that still have men and food in them grow back faster than towns that have been completely stripped. And we will move on to the second town and do the same thing. People have accused Peter Molyneux of making the same game over and over again, and they keep saying that he makes Populous over and over again, especially when he made Black and White. It was like, oh, well, it's just a new 3D Populous. No, not at all. If anything, Black and White was a remake of this game. Black and White, with its complex world simulation, was a remake of Powermonger. It has much more in common with Powermonger than it does with Populous. And we're going to move on to the third town and do the same thing. We set our aggression to 2 when we got men and food from the second town, so that we would not completely destroy it. You can look at the little sheep. The villagers will actually go out and get food from the sheep and bring it back to the town. Each villager has its own task, and we just got a second general by taking over this town. You may think, oh, well, now you can have 2 armies, but that's not really a good idea. We've got a town over here, as you can see, that's much bigger and more complex than any of the previous ones we've seen. It's going to be a tough nut to crack. So we're going to have our second general spy on that town to give us information about it. And now we'll switch back to our first general and go on to the next town.
Yeah.
And now we can see that our spying is paid off. We can see with the little red dots where the enemy is and how many of them there are.
Yep.
And there's a lot of them. So we're going to have to do some extra stuff in order to finish off this map, as you'll see in just a second. Peter loves little people. He tries to put little people in every single one of the games he makes. He once said in a presentation I watched that right before Magic Carpet shipped, he put little people in it when it hadn't had them before, and it wasn't really in the design, but he just couldn't bear to ship a game that didn't have little people in it. Okay, we have 31 troops. There are 39 men in the last town, so we are not strong enough to take the last town. So, by not stripping any of the towns, we allow them to repopulate, and now we are going to go back and get the food and men that have regrown, and then use that to take over the last town. Again, you can see our aggression's on 3. Now we are stripping. And again, you can see the seasons changing.
Yeah.
You can hear your general say yes, but you can tell that he said it in a lower pitch that time. That means that he doesn't think that the order that you gave him is a good idea. You just told him to strip, or I just told him to strip this town. He doesn't think that that's a good idea. Under normal circumstances, he would be right. You don't want to strip a town unless you're gearing up for the last push, which is what we're doing, and it's not going to matter anyway. Yeah, again, we're telling him get everybody, and he's telling us, okay, I will, but I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But you can see that my bars are huge. I've got 68 troops, and that's going to be more than enough to take on the last village. So let's go ahead and do that. This game was not particularly well received, and you can probably tell why. The interface is very obtuse, and the controls, especially the controls for moving around the map, are not very intuitive. It took me several tries, even with the manual and the quick reference card to figure out exactly how I was supposed to go about winning a Powermonger map. So unfortunately, the game didn't get a sequel. It never was re-released. It didn't really get, a fair shot. Oh, here's the last battle with the big town. Oh my. Oh my, lots of angels going up to heaven. But as you can see, the scales have tipped in my favor. Oh, and I lost my spy. Darn. But as you can see, the scales have tipped in my favor, and at this point, the land is won. The other unfortunate thing about Powermonger is that you have seen 90% of what Powermonger has to offer just in these first 3 maps. And there are over 100 to do. So it got kind of monotonous pretty quick. But that's Powermonger. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Viridian, signing off. Bye.